Big news, Von Miller out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, Locker Room. Yeah, we in the Locker Room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do.
It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can see me here in the mornings on the SNL collaboration, as well as nightly, as well as throughout the day whenever news breaks. And we had some news break today that impacts this game. Now, there's mixed reviews. If Von Miller in his prime is going to miss a game, it really doesn't get much bigger than that. You're talking about one of the premier pass rushers in his prime. You're talking about a guy who won a Super Bowl MVP. And that would be a really, really massive deal. As it sits right now, Von Miller is more of a guy who comes in passing downs, and he is still very capable of blowing by opposing tackles. And we've seen the Texans defense or offensive line be vulnerable in certain situations, although the pass pro is definitely probably the strength of Laramie Tunsil specifically. But Von Miller is going to be out. I think this is really, really big. And I think it's bigger than people are giving credit for it. Because John McClain brought it up the other day, and we've kind of witnessed it. The Texans have found themselves in third and long for a large chunk of this season. And on third and long, what happens is you put in your pass rushers, they go after the quarterback, and they make life very difficult for the quarterback. Von Miller in that situation is ideal, and the Texans in that situation, they provide that opportunity for a team like Buffalo or whoever they play. So I think this Von Miller thing is perhaps a little bit bigger than it might be getting credit for. Now, we've seen some live movement, and this was the initial question. Why are the Texans favored over the Bills? Well, now they're not. Now Buffalo's a 1-point favorite. And by the way, this video sponsored by BetUS. Use the promo code YouTube150 and get a 150% bonus up to $2,000, 125% after that. And I got to be honest, I took it on the chin today with the Astros, although I am back in the game. But shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this. We'll get into the line. I'm not really wanting to make a wager on this game just yet. I kind of want to see how it shapes up, what's up with Mixon, what's up with Dell before I make a wager on this game. So it'll probably be closer to the weekend before that happens. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it shapes up. We'll see what it looks like. And we'll check it out. And I appreciate everyone for coming through. The Buffalo Bills right now are in a hellacious stretch. They just had to go to Baltimore. They got the brakes tapped off them by Baltimore. Now on a short week, they have to face the Texans, which is a good football team, a team actually above them in the standings, one of the other 3-1 squads. And then after that, they're going to have to go to New York and play on that field and face the Jets. Jets not good, but that's not a surface you want to play on after you have two really tough games against the Ravens and the Texans. I do wonder, a lot of times when you face a team like Baltimore, there's kind of a snowball effect where if you get beat, like one loss turns into two. And I do wonder how the Buffalo Bills are feeling, which is why I wanted to hear from their head coach, Sean McDermott. And I think these exercises are valuable for a number of reasons. I don't think you just play audio just to play audio. But I think in this case, we talk about localizing it, and we have a good grasp as a community. And shout out to everyone joining the community. We're about 11.2-ish deep, over 1/3 in views the last 4 weeks. And the watch time is through the roof. So I appreciate everyone for riding along for the Texans coverage. It means a lot to me. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Much appreciated. Be sure to subscribe to Cody Stutz's channel and watch us on the morning during our simulcast, SNL, which is tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central. But I like to hear from the coach, and I like to hear the questions that the coach is being asked. Like, for example, if you're a Buffalo fan and you're covering the Houston Texans, assuming that guys are asking the right questions, and I think Cody Stutz does, and I don't want to pat myself on the back, I think I do as well. There's probably not a Bills beat writer who's going to look for the way in which D'Amico Ryans handled the clock at the end of the first half, which we actually came to an agreement on, myself and Cody Stutz, and we kind of talked it out this morning. Those are just the kind of things that I look for. And Buffalo has a pretty strong media presence. So let's just kind of get an idea of what the mood is, what the questions are outside of the obvious. We know Josh Allen's good. We know that Buffalo's a good football team. We know they're going to have to contain Dalton Kincaid. But what are the other media types asking? Because I think they'll have a pretty good pulse of it. Let's do a little case study, little studying here as we try to get a grasp on what the big storylines are in Buffalo here in another live edition of The Locker Room. Look how creepy this dude looks, by the way.
Also, how did Khalil Shakir and Josh Allen come out of the game with their minor ailments?
Yeah, so we'll start, Alex, with Taylor Rapp. He's in the concussion protocol. So that's where that stands currently. And then you mentioned Josh. Josh is sore, should be fine as we move forward here. We'll continue to take it one day at a time, but should be fine. And who was the other one you mentioned?
Khalil Shakir banged up his ankle early in the game.
Yeah, Khalil fought through it. It's one of those situations we'll see how he does this week, taking it one day at a time. Just kind of, I'll let you know each day how he's trending. And I know he's really sore this afternoon. So
if Taylor's situation is extensive, is there any consideration to maybe giving Micah Hyde a call and crossing that bridge perhaps?
Well, we feel good about, the guys that we have here. We'd start there first. That's always on our radar. You know how we feel about Micah.
Micah Hyde.
And final question, just reflecting on the trick play in the third quarter, do you have any additional perspective on that?
Yeah, we talked about it after the game. We talked about it again today. And, I think we feel pretty strongly that that's a situation that we want back and we can learn from, and we will learn from. Felt like, we had some momentum there at that point in the game, Alex, and we were doing a fairly decent job at that point, at least in the second half, of moving the football, albeit it was a 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6 situation, what have you. That's one we want back for sure, and that's something we can learn from, no doubt.
All right, thank you for your time.
Sure.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. By the way, we'll get to why this game is so huge in a second. We're doing a little.
Hey, Sean, Josh Reed here. Thanks for taking a little bit of time.
Thanks, Coach.
Lost in the outcome of the game. Khalil Shakir sets an NFL record. Just wondering if you could share some thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, he's an incredible person, amazing player. Just his consistency, Josh, speaks for itself. What a pro. He's done a phenomenal job. And again, to push through the way that he did, he tweaked it fairly early in the game. And I thought was a credit to him and the way he pushed through it right there.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Sure.
Okay.
Hi, Sean. John Worrell. How much do you think that was yesterday's result a reminder of how much this team, especially the way it's formed right now, relies on complementary style of football?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, dude. What do you expect them to say? Of course they rely on complementary football. Let's skip ahead.
Is it, from your perspective, as much as you've learned in your seat over the last couple of years?
Oh, wow. Going deep.
Is it about, I know we talk about not riding the roller coaster, but really getting the point across to your team, even in a moment like last night where it didn't seem like a lot went right, focusing on the things you've done well and the immediate shift to, okay, now you have some problems to fix and focusing on that. How much have you learned about that process in your time as a head coach?
No, it's important, right? I think experience is important because you need to know what adjustments to make, one, and then how much of an adjustment do you need to make without either underreacting or overreacting. And so a season, as I may have mentioned to you guys last night, is about making adjustments and tweaks and recalibrating in some areas, polishing in others. And then sometimes getting a reminder that you got to go back and reteach the standard, reteach the fundamentals, and making sure that we're going back to the basics that we need and that are so important to playing winning football.
Okay.
Thanks, Sean.
I'm bored.
Sure.
I'm bored. Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Sean, AJ here in Rochester.
ball's going or where you're supposed to be. And so I think our eyes were a little bit undisciplined, and we were doing some things that were uncharacteristic, and that happens from time to time. So, I'm looking forward to our guys learning from that as we move forward here.
Josh mentioned last night that he thought they came out with more urgency. Is that something that, how do you address something like that? Did you see that? And how do you correct something like that going forward?
Well, I feel like we've been rather urgent early in games, all the way through the season. Miami game on the road, albeit a different environment. This game, I felt like, to Josh's point, they had a little bit more intensity maybe than we did. And then what happened is the long run ratcheted it up another level, right? So the environment went up even more, and so I think that probably knocked us back on our heels a little bit, and that again is something we can learn from and need to learn from as we go forward to keep our poise and just settle in. And we did that like later on in the game, later on the game, but I didn't feel like we did that early enough there.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Coach, you talked about some of those lessons learned in last night's game. How can you use some of those lessons to get ready for a team in the Texans who have a great wide receiver core and a really great defensive line?
Very skilled team. I mean, they've been loading up, for some time last year, and then this past off season through the draft, through free agency, it seems like, and they already had a good team coming off of last year's team. So it's going to be a big challenge for us, again, going into their place, and they're highly skilled at those key positions, as you mentioned, defensive line, wide receiver.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Thanks, Coach. There you go. Sean
All
McDermott.
incredibly happy for you. Joining us now, ladies.
Everything we thought it would be. Sean McDermott. There you go. Shout out to McDermott. So urgency is one of the talking points, and banged up. So that might have something to do with why the Texans were a little bit favored there. I don't know where I'm going in this one when it comes to betting. If we pull up the Bet US odds on this game, I think they have it at -1 at the moment. I don't know if this game is even really worth betting, to be honest with you. I don't know if this is kind of like a game that you really want to bet on. We pull up Bet US. Look at this. This is one of the cool things they have. You can get a you can talk to a actual person if you so choose. And gets like information like where is this line, where is that line, but we go to this line here on Bet US, and again, YouTube 150 is the promo code. Accounts down. I got 200 on the Astros over yesterday. I've been kind of going crazy. Got 450 in the prop bets, 200 on the Astros over tomorrow combined. So we'll see how that goes, but let's see what the line is. Let's see if we can talk ourselves into making a little wager. We got Tampa Bay and Atlanta Thursday night. Not really feeling that one. Jets, Vikings, not really feeling that. So right now they got the Bills at -1. So that's where it is. Let's just go ahead and take the over. Screw it. I lied. I'll go ahead and do that. So we're at 1,100. We'll go 100.29 for that to win 91. So we're at the over 47. I placed my bet. You can get in the game as well. YouTube 150 is the promo code to get in the mix at Bet US. Shout out to them for sponsoring the segment. It's just not a real value bet there. No, it's just not worth betting because I don't like it either way. I'm not really into either one of these things. I do think it's a massive game though. And I think about this, and the best way I can say is I think it's more about the opportunity with the W than the doom with an L. I think it's an opportunity for the Texans to win one of those games that you can hang your hat on before you get into that December stretch and before you get into this stretch ahead, which you're probably going to be favored to win most of these games, starting with New England, the Jets, and a couple others. So I look at it that way. I think it's an opportunity just this year to take advantage of the opportunity that the Bills are kind of hobbled. It's also going to be CJ Stroud versus Josh Allen volume 1, which I think is big. Like if you look at quarterbacks that are trying to battle on the same tier and whose teams are like trying to go from good to great, or the one team is chasing the other team, there's always like a pattern that maybe it's established early. Maybe it's just something that there's a lot of other factors in when it comes to the teams, but there's always like some sort of established dominance when it comes to quarterback matchups. And I go back to like the Manning Brady. Like there were some regular season games. It wasn't always in the playoffs, but there were some regular season games where it was like, is Peyton going to finally get Brady? And the Patriots would kind of send a statement. And I don't know if it was in the back of Peyton Manning's head, but I'll tell you this, I damn sure thought about it every time that I watched Brady and Manning go toe-to-toe. And you can say, well, you know, the weather was a factor a lot of times, and I don't disagree with that, but I also think there is some sort of mental edge that you can get if you establish dominance early on in an individual matchup. And Mahomes and Allen is another example. Like you've seen Allen actually outplay Mahomes, but at the end of the game, Mahomes kind of gets the last laugh. And that has to be in the back of Josh Allen's mind. It's a question that he's been asked, like, I want to say 6 times in the last couple of years. Like, is that in your mind? We've seen Stefon Diggs, now a Texan. We've seen him sit out and just watch the confetti as the Chiefs win. And it's just kind of one of the faces, one of the photos of a few games where the Bills just came up short. And you wonder, like, if the Bills had been able to win early and establish some sort of confidence or some sort of precedent, would that have mattered? And that's what I wonder, if that could be the case with CJ Stroud versus Josh Allen. Like we talk about CJ Stroud and we say some people say he's already an elite quarterback. Some people say he's trying to become an elite quarterback. There's not a lot of people in that upper elite tier right now that you consider elite quarterbacks. There's one for sure in Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson, I think, should be in that tier. CJ Stroud right now is 0-2 against Lamar Jackson. Team game. Not sitting here saying it's all his fault, but he's 0-2 against Lamar Jackson. That's one of those guys that you throw in that tier. 2-time MVP. Y'all can cuss and discuss, argue about, you know, the throwing ability, all that. I always kind of roll my eyes at the Lamar Jackson hate. But right now, CJ Stroud is 0-2 against Lamar Jackson. He's 1-0 against Joe Burrow. He went into Joe Burrow's house and took him down last year. And I kind of think that was a big tone setter for the Texans season last year. And part of the starting point for how the Texans became a team that believed that they could win against the good teams late in the season. This is going to be his first opportunity against Josh Allen. So we're going to get a visual of CJ Stroud and Josh Allen. At the end of the game, fair or not, there are going to be a number of factors that come into play. It's going to be CJ Stroud's stats side by side with Josh Allen's stats. Can CJ Stroud outplay Josh Allen? That is going to be a big deal. And the other thing is, I don't think it's just going to be a one-off. There's a chance that this isn't the only time that these teams meet this season. Josh Allen doesn't appear to be someone who's going anywhere anytime soon. What are the Buffalo Bills when they get challenged by a good squad? We've seen some really, really good performances. The Texans are trying to become a really, really good squad. You establish yourself there. There are a number of reasons why this is big. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I've actually put together 5 reasons why I think this is a big game. Britton is swarming the super chat. Appreciate you, my friend. You ain't never hate. Swarm. So there you go. But yeah, that's where I'm at when it comes to the Josh Allen, CJ Stroud factor. So the top 5 reasons that I think this is a big game, and despite what D'Amico says, I don't want to minimize it. Number 1 is there's the individual tiers. And the individual tier is CJ Stroud and Josh Allen. If CJ Stroud is able to take down Josh Allen, then all of a sudden, like all this MVP talk, all of this elite talk, it starts to surround CJ Stroud. And I don't think CJ Stroud, in some instances, you might not want this to happen, but I think when D'Amico Ryans preaches not eating rat poison, I don't think CJ Stroud is a threat to do that. I actually think this can give him like a certain level of confidence and swagger to where he'll be able to carry it. If he loses, again, it's more about the opportunity with a W than the doom with an L. If you lose this game, you go face the New England Patriots next game. You're probably going to be favored to beat them, and then you can right the ship, and you're still going to be in control of the AFC South. If you win this game, you're going to have, at worst, the second best record in the AFC, and there's other stuff to look at when it comes to that we'll get to in a sec, which is right now. Reason number 2 is the team tiers. Right now, you're trying to measure yourself against the Buffalo Bills. You're trying to get to the level that the Bills are at. The Bills have been unable to get to the level that they've been trying to get, but the level they're currently at is above where the Texans are, based on the body of work and based on the way that they've played so far. So you want to measure yourself against other squads. I know D'Amico's, from his perspective, you got to stay even keel because you don't want to get too high. You don't want to get too low. But if you believe that you can beat Buffalo, then you believe you can beat any team in the NFL, because Buffalo is up there in that tier right now. Could Buffalo fall apart? Sure. But with where they are right now, that is where you're trying to get. So that's reason number 2. Reason number 3, the Diggs bragging rights. The Buffalo Bills right now are trying to convince themselves that they made the right decision in getting rid of Stefon Diggs. Maybe they had no choice whether to do it. They had to get rid of a hell of a lot of players. The Texans are trying to prove that they made the right decision. What better way to measure that than seeing these two teams head-to-head at NRG against each other with the same record, trying to do the same thing? There is none. So the Diggs bragging rights is another reason that this is a big game. It's going to be a big-ass storyline. Stefon Diggs and the Bills. There's going to be some sort of interview, whether it's on Fox or CBS, ESPN, one of the countdown shows is going to be an interview with Stefon Diggs, Josh Allen. They're probably going to say how great each other is, and they wish the best for each other. They want to beat each other's asses, and I can tell you this right now. I don't know if Stefon Diggs is going to try to play up, this is just another game. If he says that, he is not telling the truth, because this is a big game for him, and this is a big game for them. They want to prove they made the right decision. And he wants to prove that he did his thing. And the other thing is, like, if it doesn't go right, like, what is the mindset of Diggs going to be? I don't know. That's reason number 3. Reason number 4, you get a lead in the standings. I mean, look, we're talking about the AFC South, and we're kind of rolling our eyes at what's going on around the AFC South. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Mason Rudolph mania in Tennessee. That's pathetic. That's actually I actually kind of feel sorry for the old Oilers and Amy Adams Stank. And the checks that she's cutting. Mason Rudolph, that's where we're at. Like, Will Levis, you're actually happy that Mason Rudolph is in a game? That's pitiful. That's pathetic. That's awful. That's hell to me when it comes to football. I would rather suck than have Mason Rudolph winning me games. That's trash. Then you have the Jags, who are 0-4, and you have the Colts, who are 2-2. We don't know what's going to happen with Flacco and LaFar Jackson, a.k.a. Anthony Richardson. So you're in the AFC South. You feel good about the AFC South. You don't feel like you're threatened to lose it. Do you start looking at the 1 seed in the AFC? Do you start looking at that? Because if you beat the Bills, you're going to be in second place. Chiefs just lost their top receiver. They just lost Rice. We don't know how long that's going to be. It doesn't look good for them. Can they overcome that? Who knows? But you're going to be chasing the Chiefs. Oh, by the way, you play the Chiefs in December. If you beat Buffalo and you establish yourself in the standings, then you take care of business, you go back and forth. That game might actually be for a bye. Or if you play Buffalo, and this is what's really big, this is what's huge, and I think you all can agree to this. Have you seen what Buffalo's like during the effing playoffs? Last year when Buffalo was hosting a playoff game, and by the way, the Texans were this close to having to go to Buffalo instead of hosting the Browns in the first round. Fortunately, the Jaguars, who haven't won a game in a long time, fortunately, the Jaguars wet the bed against the old Oilers, and the Texans were able to host the Browns. If that hadn't happened, you know what would have happened? They would have had to go to Buffalo. They would have had to sit around on Sunday. The weather's so terrible, they postponed the game till Tuesday, and the Texans would have had to sit around and most likely lose to Buffalo in crappy-ass weather that none of these guys want anything to do with. And really no football player wants anything to do with, but Buffalo gets kind of used to it. So if you're talking about the Texans making a long, long playoff run, then Baltimore is a place that you've lost at twice. in the CJ Stroud era to start the season and to end the season last year. Buffalo is a place you don't want to go. So you want to be ahead of them in the standings so that they have to come here. Because nobody wants to be in Buffalo in December, January, February at all. It's lovely right now. I'm sure it's chilly. I'm sure there's some Houstonians that would love to be in Buffalo right now. What's the Buffalo weather right now? This probably sounds lovely right now. The fall, a Buffalo fall. What do we got right now? 65 degrees, man. Tomorrow their high is 65 degrees and sunny, partly sunny. Then it's going to be 69. Then it's going to be 72. That's lovely. Pull that crap up in December or January. It's minus 20. People can't even drive to games. They have people volunteering to shovel snow so they can get games off. You've got to get an edge on Buffalo so you don't have to go there in December or January. You've got to. Nobody wants to go there and freeze their ass off. So that's another reason. A lead in the standings and avoiding that hellacious weather in December. Britain with another super chat. My question, what do you think is the weakest part of the team besides the O-line? Besides the O-line, I would say the intermediate coverage. I would say that coaches have kind of sniffed out the Jalen Petrie situation. He's going to have to hold up as good as he can. We saw him make the play at the end the other day, the PBU on second down on the Jags' final actual real drive. Not the one where they had like 10 seconds left or whatever and lateraled it around. So I think intermediately the Texans are kind of vulnerable. And I actually think, like, if we're focusing on this game, I think that's something that Buffalo can take advantage of. Now, the wide receiver core is a little bit banged up. I think they're going to be fine holding up on Coleman. I think that's actually the ideal type of receiver that, like, Stingley and Lassiter would like to match up with. Not necessarily fast, big, not shifty, still a good player. But I think Kincaid could pose a lot of problems. And I actually think Cook in the receiving game as well could pose a lot of problems. So that would be my thing, the intermediate coverage for sure. Petrie rated well according to PFF. Look, they rated Tavier Thomas as the best nickel back in the league. I think we've noticed, if you watch every play, that PFF has some weaknesses. It can be a good resource, but they're getting rid of their best guys, and now they're basically putting out ads and just hiring. And if you follow it, if there's a team that you watch every snap at and you kind of see it, I think they're weak on the offensive line. I think they're really weak in the nickel. I think in the nickel they're terrible. I don't think they factor in like missed throws. I don't know how much gray area there is at this point with PFF. And I don't completely dismiss it, but when I don't like highly rated Tavier Thomas. That was a joke. And I think the Petrie thing is kind of a little bit silly too. So that is what that is. But number 4, a lead in the standings. Number 5 is serious momentum. You win this game, you got some serious momentum heading into this next stretch. And I'm still kind of old school ish. I know it's a little bit difficult with the extra game, but I like to divide this whole thing into tiers when it comes to the schedule. So in a traditional week 16 week NFL season, you go weeks 1 to 4, and then you continue that trend. And I think that's a good way to measure a season and really just cut it up into tiers. And there's going to be, after this, you're going to go to New England, to Green Bay, then you got the Colts and you got the Jets. If you can win this game and then you can go 2-2, then you're looking at being 6-3 through 9 weeks. That's lovely. 6-3. You're going to have Detroit coming in town on Sunday night. It's going to be a long break. You are going to have to play the Jets on a Thursday, but after that, you're going to have 10 days to get ready for the Lions. Then you're going to go play the Cowboys. Then you get 2 division games against the Titans and Jags. Then you got the Dolphins, who are a dog-butted team, and you got the Chiefs and Ravens and Titans in December. So I think this is a real good chance to get momentum. But the number 1, and just to reset the 5, individual tiers, team tiers, The individual tiers, obviously, CJ and Josh Allen might not be the biggest thing. I think it matters a little bit more than they would admit. The team tiers, that's the level you're trying to get. You can kind of connect that to 4. The Diggs bragging rights, I think that matters a little bit. And a lead in the standings and serious momentum. But I think the lead in the standings is important because you don't want to go to Buffalo in December or January. You just don't. You don't. I mean, they have to wake up probably 2 hours before they have to be somewhere. I know they got like snow plows on them. I mean, you got to do like the defrost thing, all that. No one wants to be there in Buffalo. Let's just be serious. So that's why I think this is a big game. It's more about the opportunity with a W than doom and gloom with an L. Are you taking the next step or are you not taking the next step? That's the question that they're going to have to answer. D'Amico's going to say it's just another game. I don't believe that. Those are my 5 reasons why. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. Also, be sure to check out SNL with myself and Cody Stutz. We're live every morning, 8 a.m. for Reaction Monday, 9 a.m. Tuesday through Thursday, and then 4 p.m. after the final injury report comes out. Tuesday's the Texans off day, so depending on what the news is, this thing can go anywhere from 30 to an hour. Right now, we got a lot to get into. We got practice to watch for tomorrow. Joe Mixon, Tank Dell will be the things that we're looking at, but we do know that the Bills will be without Von Miller. Could Joe Mixon and Tank Dell just completely be a boost to this Texans team to where we get to see the elite offense that many people thought they would have? Appreciate y'all for coming through. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Again, BetUS, promo code YouTube150, get 150% bonus, and you will get to enjoy playing the game inside of the game. What a lovely game that is. Appreciate y'all for coming through.
We really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localized every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not 2.